What if I told you that some of the most expensive and advanced weapons in the U.S. military actually failed? Weapons that jammed in the middle of battle. Tanks that cost billions but never saw combat. Aircraft so flawed they became legends of waste rather than tools of war. In this Machine Squad deep dive, we uncover the most shocking U.S. weapons scandals, from defective rifles that put soldiers' lives at risk, to billion-dollar failures that embarrassed the Pentagon. This isn't just history. These scandals shaped how America fights wars today. Stay with us, because by the end, you'll realize the deadliest enemy isn't always on the battlefield. Sometimes, it's inside the weapons themselves. The rifle that failed in Vietnam, the M16 disaster. Let's rewind to the 1960s. The United States was knee-deep in the Vietnam War. Soldiers were promised a new, super rifle, the M16, lightweight, accurate, and futuristic compared to the M14. But on the battlefield, the dream turned into a nightmare. Early versions of the M16 jammed constantly. Soldiers reported rifles failing during firefights. Some were found dead next to their rifles jammed mid-battle, cleaning rods stuck inside. Why did this happen? Backhand index pointing right. The Army had changed the gunpowder without telling the designers. Backhand index pointing right rifles were sent without cleaning kits, under the myth it was self-cleaning. The result? A scandal that forced Congress to investigate. The M16 would eventually be fixed and evolve into the M4 carbine, but its dark start remains one of the deadliest U.S. weapons scandals ever. The Osprey controversy. Billions for a widowmaker. Fast forward to the 1980s and 90s. The Pentagon wanted a revolutionary aircraft, part helicopter, part airplane. The V-22 Osprey. It promised speed, flexibility, and futuristic air mobility. But during testing, it was plagued with mechanical failures, crashes that killed dozens of Marines, skyrocketing costs. By the early 2000s, the Osprey program had cost over $30 billion. Critics called it a widowmaker and a waste of taxpayer money. And yet, after decades of controversy, the Osprey is still in service today, flying Marines and Special Forces. But its legacy remains tainted as one of the biggest weapons development scandals in modern U.S. history. The F-35 Lightning II, the $1.7 trillion jet. Now let's talk about the biggest scandal of them all, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. It was supposed to be the ultimate fighter jet, stealthy, fast, loaded with sensors, and cheap to maintain. But reality? A logistical nightmare. Cost overruns made it the most expensive weapons program in history, over $1.7 trillion. Software bugs delayed deployment for years. Pilots reported issues with oxygen systems and vision in helmets costing $400,000 each. Critics said the jet was not combat ready, even after hundreds were built. Yes, the F-35 is finally flying missions today. But the price tag and endless flaws have cemented it as a weapons scandal that will be studied for decades. The XM2001 Crusader, the tank that never was. Not all scandals involve soldiers dying. Some are about wasted money. Take the XM2001 Crusader, a futuristic self-propelled howitzer in the 1990s. It was meant to replace Cold War-era artillery. Cost? Billions in development. Weight? Too heavy to deploy quickly. By 2002, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld killed the program. Billions had been spent, with nothing to show on the battlefield. It became a symbol of Pentagon waste, and a reminder that not every shiny project becomes reality. The M249 saw controversy. Another rifle scandal, this time the M249 squad automatic weapon. When it entered service in the 1980s, it gave squads automatic firepower. But by the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, soldiers complained. Constant jamming in sandy environments. Poor stopping power against armored enemies. Heavy weight compared to modern rifles. The Army eventually began replacing it with the M27IR, and now the M250 NGSW machine gun. But the M249's reputation was scarred by years of complaints. The Littoral Combat Ship, LCS fiasco. One of the U.S. Navy's most controversial scandals. The Littoral Combat Ship. It was supposed to be a fast, modular ship for shallow waters. Instead, it became fragile and underarmed, plagued by engine failures, extremely expensive to maintain. The Navy ended up retiring some LCS ships after just a few years of service. Billions down the drain, and proof that even the most advanced Navy can make multi-billion-dollar mistakes. The OICW XM8, future rifles that never arrived. In the late 1990s, the Army dreamed of a sci-fi rifle, the OICW, Objective Individual Combat Weapon, a hybrid that fired both bullets and 20mm grenades. Billions were spent. The weapon was too heavy, too complex, and simply not practical. It eventually evolved into the XM8 rifle, which also failed. Soldiers tested it, liked some features, but the program was canceled. Result? Millions wasted, nothing fielded. Another scandal buried in Pentagon history. Lessons from the scandals. So what do these stories tell us? Technology isn't enough. Weapons need to work in the real world. Politics and money often drive military projects more than practicality. Soldiers on the ground pay the price when weapons fail. The Pentagon has wasted hundreds of billions over the decades, money that could have been spent elsewhere. But at the same time, scandals force change. The M16 disaster pushed the Army to improve rifles. The F-35, for all its flaws, is now a backbone of NATO air power. Failure, as costly as it is, sometimes paves the way for progress. From the jungles of Vietnam, to the deserts of Iraq, to the skies over the Pacific, one thing is clear: not every weapon America builds is a success. Some are scandals that cost lives. Others are failures that cost billions. And together, they remind us, the true test of a weapon isn't in the factory, but in the chaos of battle. This was Machine Squad, and now I'll ask you, which of these scandals shocked you the most? And do you think future projects like the NGD fighter jet will follow the same path, or finally break the cycle? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories of the world's deadliest machines.